Hey everyone, welcome in. Thank you for joining me. My name is Marlene and I am with A Room to Bloom. So, normally I do readings kind of early, either early afternoon or, late morning, something like that. But today it happens to be it's evening. It's 8:40 p.m. as I do this reading. And it's because I was just feeling a lot today. And the reason I'm letting you know that is because if you have these days where you're just feeling a lot of stuff, right? It's not like someone came along and you had this experience that kind of threw you off. These very much can be energies. It can be things that are coming up that are now ready to be processed. And so I I simply put, I just knew that I needed to allow this to move through, right? Um, got outside for a while today, did a couple other things, but didn't really push myself, demand too much of myself, if you might say, or you might say. So, anyway, as I go through my journey, right, I'm always the student, right? We're the student. We're learning what we're experiencing, or we're experiencing something and then we're learning about it. So however that is, and so then I take the experiences that I have and I share them. But I definitely do not share all of them because some of them are I think better shared after the process has been gone through, right? So it's like a looking back for me, but not a living in the energy, and it becomes a teaching, um, a, a teaching session, if you will, to help guide you through what you might be experiencing. And again, you're here because like energy attracts like energy, so there would be something here for you if this message pops up on your feed. So, kind of with that being said, I was getting out some cards that I have had put away for a while, and it's just kind of a variety of different things that I grabbed here. But I have a deck here called If Life is the Game, These Are the Rules, and it's a deck by Sherry Carter Scott. And they're very they bring forth things to consider, and phrases to help one move through something, right? So we're going to start with this to see what is in the energy. And again, even though this is like when I'm recording this, when it comes into your energetic field, that's when you were ready to receive it, or at that bandwidth or frequency that you were there then, right? That you were in that space. So even if I recorded this and 10 years later you're watching it, that means you got there to this space-time continuum, if you will. Okay, so what do we have here? The first one is casualty. Okay, and so what it says, acknowledge that you are the source of your manifestations. Acknowledge that you are the source of your manifestations, right? So so this is a perfect example. So it says, okay, whatever I'm experiencing, I manifested this in. So what that says is, this idea of like energy attracts like energy. If my thoughts are in one place, it's like I'm putting out this signal that that's what will be attracted to me, right? So this is why getting our thoughts, releasing what isn't ours, right? Letting go what isn't serving us, really being mindful, which is interesting because that's the book I got out today, about where our thoughts are. Are our thoughts serving us? Are they bringing us to a place of that which we want to bring into our life, right? So we have to acknowledge that we are the source of our manifestations. So we thought, spoke out something, took an action or whatever that brought in certain experiences. Okay, what else do we have? We have tolerance, okay? Same color, green here again, actually the same pattern. Outwardly express your acceptance of others, right? This to me is coming to me like, you know how when some people just don't say I love you, and it's because they believe the other person knows. Like they know that they love them, but they don't say it, or that much, or something like that. But this is saying, go ahead and speak out what you how you accept others, right? Like this is a card of holding space for someone in whatever area that whatever place or space they are in their journey, right? And so if they are moving through something, like for me today, moving through something, I spoke with someone, but it was short. I just wasn't really there at that time to be able to really hold a conversation that would be up to that felt reciprocal, right? And so it's like that other person was tolerant of me, right? And held space for me as I moved through it. And on that same token, I will do the same thing for them when I see or recognize or sense or feel that they simply are moving through something. Okay, the acceptance of others. And I'm another example is coming to me of the toddler, right? The toddler. So if a toddler is having a tantrum and we know that they move through it, we don't sit and argue with a toddler, right? And if we are arguing with a toddler, we might just do kind of a self-check, because it's kind of like we're arguing with our own inner child. And we don't want to continue those patterns, right, through family lines. So if we find ourselves arguing with a toddler, it's just how can we change that and say, I accept that you're moving through something, and being more gentle. And it is interesting, I've brought this up before. I bought this very recently. I've never bought anything with an owl on it. It says, love one another as I have loved you. And we have this parent owl with two little ones, right? So just again, I just happens to be sitting on my desk and speaking on that and looking down, just taking that moment. Because that's how things get passed on too, in family lines, when it can be a way of life, but it can be, life changes or has changed for people who put more and more on their plate, right? And the people get stressed and spread too thin, if you will, right? Anyway, so how can you express your acceptance of others and be tolerant? Okay, the next one is clarity. Okay, here's the card. So we have pink and peach. It says, see people and things clearly as they really are. I'm not sure that I'm going to speak on it, but I literally went and wrote down some words on something that has to do with this right before this reading. It came to me. And so I may tap into it. We'll see how things unfold here, but otherwise it'll be another reading. See people and things clearly as they really are, right? So what this says is, how many times do we sugarcoat something because we want it to be a certain way? We want to feel better about a certain situation. We want to be tolerant, right? But there might be situations that where for instance it's like people are wearing masks, right? And then, or they're not being upfront, or they're not providing you clarity in situations, and either you feel like you have to go digging, right, for information. You feel like that, but you don't have to. You can just accept others as they are, and either you can be in that energy or you can step away from that energy, right, depending upon how it makes you feel. Okay, what else do we have here? Beliefs. Okay, and we have candles on here. Examine the unconscious expectations that dictate your behavior. So that was kind of what I was speaking about, beliefs, these things that get passed down in our family. Well, this was done a certain way because, in an example, it could be anything, right? I do something this way because my mom did it that way, and that's what she taught me, right? And why did she do it that way? Because her mom taught her to do it that way, right? And eventually, there's like these little, there might be small differences in what people do based on, whatever inventions that come along. If it's, doing something in the kitchen or whatever it is, right? So there's these little shifts, or there'll be someone who comes along who sees things clearly. They see things differently. They have clarity on a situation and they might just totally upend that whole ancestral patterning, if you will, even if it was simply something that was being done in the kitchen, because they have clarity and they see more than others saw. They see deeper into the situation, and so they create or they do something very different that's ever been done. Have you ever been over to someone's home? Could have been from the same region of the world that you're from, but they did something very differently. And then yet having that gift also, if you are from one area of the world and you go to another area and you see how things are done differently, right? So accepting that and just seeing things as they are. Examine the unconscious expectations that dictate your behavior. Beliefs. So again, back to what are your beliefs? And they're unconscious, meaning we're not mindfully doing them. It's kind of like driving, you get out and you just drive. You've been doing it however long, and next thing you know, you're there. But when you're really mindful in the drive, you're like, oh, I can, if you have the windows open, I can smell the grass. I can, hear the people. I can, you're really aware of conversations, of lyrics in a song, of numbers on a license plate, what the billboards are saying. You are very present in the drive, right? Okay, what else do we have? We have fairness, okay? And so it says, perceive things as equitable, then anticipate justice prevailing. Okay, so we do have 3 cards with green and a bit of yellow. So definitely things going on around the heart situation. And with the solar plexus, that could have been very challenging, right? So the heart chakra is represented by green, solar plexus are represented by yellow, which is like standing in our power, which is actually really interesting because I moved that picture that's just over my head here, and I set it in front of my other one just actually I did that the other day, and you can see all that yellow in that as well. Okay, I really wasn't going to do this, but I have now split the deck. Okay, and so we have love and creativity. Okay, all right. So under love, it says allow your imagination to bring something into existence, right? So every single thing in our world got here because someone thought it first. So God, source, is also known as first cause, first thought, right? Thought the world into existence and spoke it into existence, right? Understanding that. Okay, so here's a mug, right, or whatever you call these, a water thing, and it's like somebody thought that first. Somebody thought about the container. Maybe another person thought about the words that they would put on there. This the same person thought about the colors. Sometime somebody created the font that this person chose, right? So it was all these thoughts that went into materializing this, right? And so again, allow imagination to bring something into existence. That's under creativity. Okay, the other one under love says embrace another in their totality and support them in all of their dreams, right? So this goes back to me, the acceptance of others, right? Support them in all of their dreams, not your dreams, their dreams. And so sometimes when people are having a challenging time dreaming, if you will, figuring out what they would like to experience or whatever that is, helping them, encouraging them, right, to dream, dare to dream, to put different opportunities in front of them and see what resonates with them, right? And then embrace that person in their totality and support them in their dreams, okay? And be tolerant of it, right? Be tolerant of their dreams. These are tests and lessons that we get, right? Have come along in our journey. So, okay, so we're just going to set these aside. Okay, so I have this card deck. It's called Better Than Yesterday, and I only have half of it open, so I'm just going to work with that half, and it's a pretty big half here, right? So this talks about different ways that we might be feeling and steps we might consider, right, to feel better than we did before. I'm not sure what that was. Okay, first one, green thumb. Okay. Go and buy a small plant, big or small. Give yourself something to care for and to help it bloom. You'll be proud of yourself for being consistent with it. In America, when we were like in kindergarten, they would have a plant program, right? And so we would learn how to plant the seeds, and we would have the little cups, and it was exciting to watch those seeds bloom into something, right? And so that is something, when we are nurturing something else, we're less concerned about what we're going through. So I have to say, there's another thing that I was speaking with someone about today, and it's the idea of a plant library, kind of like a little library. It's take a plant, leave a plant. So for somebody who's maybe propagated a plant or plants, and maybe they have multiples of them, So it's like, okay, go and leave that and take something new so that you're learning about something new. And each plant holds certain energies, right? And they work certain ways in your home. So very interesting that this came up today. All right. That's confirmation. Let me just shut that off. Okay. All right. And that falls under acknowledge that you are the source of your manifestations. So let's say that you have multiple plants right now and they've all, they've grown. Like this one here over here, that particular one is not a real plant. But if it had grown and it started out as a seedling, right, you can acknowledge that you were the source of that particular manifestation because you thought, I'd like to try growing some plants. So then you took an action step and the result was that you have plants that grew. Okay. The next one we have is, it says mind blown. Watch a documentary on a subject you are unfamiliar with. Learning about the world around you makes you a more well-rounded and inquisitive person, right? So just like I was saying, if you go to this whole idea of like people do things the same way, and then someone comes in and says, hey, let's try this, right? Why? Because they were given a vision, they saw something with clarity, right? And so oftentimes these documentaries will be stories about people who had their mind blown. They were given a vision, right, about something. And so they start, how do people start on their journey? Maybe they had a dream or this idea, and they had someone who wasn't the naysayer. They were being tolerant and they were expressing their acceptance of that other person's dreams, right? That is love. When you support them in all of their dreams. Okay. So, and interesting that falls under tolerance, right? So, watch a documentary on a subject you are unfamiliar with. So, that might help you to see something, someone, some situation from a different perspective, right? So, anything that would be different. Maybe you are being called to have tolerance in a certain area, or if you have things that trigger you, and you see a documentary come across and the first thing it does is irk you, can you pull back that for a minute and go, okay, this came across here for a reason. There's something I'm supposed to watch that I'm supposed to learn as I watch this. And that learning could simply be compassion. It could be possibly the start of an ego death for you, right? Because or if we think about how did we get our ego built up to a certain place anyway, it's because we maybe got hurt at various times in our life, so we build our ego up, build up walls, right? And so sometimes when those walls are so high, someone might have less tolerance for another situation or whatever. And so if it comes by and it triggers you, it might say, what healing do I have to do that I'm being so triggered by this situation? Is it time for me to start taking some of these bricks down, my ego bricks, right? To take some of them down and to learn something from a different perspective. The movie that's coming to me is Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, where he was kind of an older man set in his ways with a family from a different culture moving in, and so but he like there was a softening, right? There was a softening, and then it became it was quite a journey. I haven't seen the movie in years, but that's definitely what's coming to me. So If you haven't seen it, you might go watch that. It's been a long time since I've watched it, so I can't really remember all the details, but definitely about tolerance. But acceptance is what's coming to me. Okay, marathon champion. Now we have a TV and a remote control. Give yourself guilt-free permission to watch your favorite show. Do you know that is so funny? Because earlier I usually don't watch television during the day. It would be so rare to ever do that. But there's that really rare occasion where it's just like I just surrender. I just don't want to keep thinking and thinking and thinking, right? It's just I just want to relax my brain, right? You deserve a couple of hours of you time, no pressure and no responsibility, right? So what's coming to me, because it says marathon champion, is, what do they call it? Binge watching, right? So some of these series and such that people put out. But there's a balance. There's a great balance in that. And you know what else? It falls under the word clarity. And so when you go into, say, if you are watching television, and you go in with the mindset that, okay, I may give in and I may surrender and I may watch a show or whatever, but I'm also going to be open to the messages that I'm supposed to receive from that show. And that could be, maybe there's something that triggers me that makes me cry. Maybe there's something that makes me laugh so hard that reminds me of something and you needed a good laugh, right? So don't feel guilty about that, but keep your mind open to what are you being shown? What are you being told about as you watch the show? Because there is a reflection to you. There's a message for you. Okay? Well, what else do we have? Okay. Unsubscribe. That's funny. I just did a bunch of that yesterday. Go through your email and unsubscribe from anything you're no longer interested in. It actually was today that I did that. Go through your email and unsubscribe from anything you're no longer interested in. The ones that just keep coming and keep coming, and they're just basically notification, they're distractions, right? And it's like, what happens is you take your power back. And it's interesting that these cards are yellow, because that is the solar plexus. And it is about learning how to set boundaries and saying, I really don't need these all the time. In fact, you might find yourself feeling much more free when you're not constantly bombarded by all these emails, right? Okay, and that falls under examine the unconscious expectations that dictate your behavior. I'm just going to let that be and see how you feel about it. It falls under beliefs. Okay, the next one that we have under fairness. What can you tell us about this? Do not disturb. We're just talking about boundaries too, right? And unsubscribing. Don't check your phone the first thing this morning. Wait at least an hour. This is the same thing. Take control of your life and your day, and you'll get to your emails when you get to them, right? So many times we're giving our power away just simply with these words. I have to, I need to, I should, I better, so and so said. Well, if you set new rules, right? It's like, and you just simply tell people if it's business related, I don't even check my emails till 10, so it's no problem if you don't email me after that, because they're not even going to be looked at, right? Or whatever. So no rush getting up and, no rush sending that. I'm setting boundaries. This is the same thing for when you get home. Is it the constant take your phone. I used to do this. And then I added something else that I was doing with that job, and in that job I learned how to really work more with this, and I applied it in my other business, right? Do not disturb. It didn't mean I didn't want business. It meant that I started to find better balance in my own life, and then have more respect from others because I did set boundaries, because I was also respecting their boundaries as well, right? Spoken or unspoken, and that falls under fairness, okay? Perceive things as equitable, and then anticipate justice prevailing, okay? So the other thing is coming to me, do you feel like someone has been disturbing you? Okay. All right, or your situation or your life or whatever. Okay. That you've needed to set boundaries. Okay, let's see what's here under love. What would you like to tell us? Can't miss it. So we have, it looks like a mirror and an idea. That's what it looks like to me. But it says, write down the most ambitious goal you have for yourself. Put it on a Post-it note and leave it somewhere where you'll see it every day. Now, this is interesting because it speaks about love. Supporting another in their dreams, right? So if you have someone you love, you might encourage them about their dreams and to write their dreams on the Post-it note and put it somewhere that they can see it. Setting a big and scary goal encourages you to think bigger and to push yourself out of your comfort zone, right? Because it's true, we can get really comfortable. But comfort can also be stagnancy. So there's a balance. I'm trying to remember what I moved around today. I don't know, I moved a couple things around, and I was thinking about speaking on that because it was just, I can't even remember what it was, to be honest with you right now, but whatever it was, I was thinking about that. Yep, that'll shift the energy. Yep, that'll shift the energy. And even getting out these different cards, that's an energy shift, right? It's making a conscious effort. Okay, so that's under love, and we're going to take one more under creativity. So let's see what we have. Nice to meet you. Handshake. Introduce yourself to someone new. You take up space and you matter. Show yourself why that's true. Now, the reason I'm giggling is because sorry, this idea of creativity and nice to meet you feels like one-liners, right? Like the when guys are getting up there, like, okay, I'm gonna go introduce myself, and so the one-liners guys come up with to go and meet someone, and I'm sure gals do it too, but yeah, allow your imagination to bring something into existence. And now what's coming to me is there is a country song by I believe it's George Strait, and I think it's called The Chair, and he says, "Excuse me, I think you've got my chair." And he kind of starts going into a whole story with this gal, and at the end, they're doing their thing, and then he says, and at the end he says, "Well, that wasn't my chair after all." So like that was his one-liner, right? Going up there, "Well, excuse me, I think you've got my chair." Okay, I'm gonna split this deck right here. You clean up nice, okay? Get dressed up for no reason. Look good, feel good, take back control of your life and feel empowered just because you feel like it, right? There's something about that too, how you think about, like, if you get dressed up and you're going to a wedding and you're getting, as you're getting ready, you're kind of maybe getting excited about the night or how it's going to be. I mean, sometimes when you've had a really busy day or busy week, it can feel like one more thing, right? But if you've been rested and or this could be like, the date you're looking forward to going on, or you're excited to go on, or whatever. That idea of how you feel, and it's like you don't have to wait for the date, right? You don't have to wait for the date. It's kind of creates a vibration of the self, right? And it's how one carries themselves. It's not about putting on airs, and it's not about ego, but it is about confidence, right? It's like I put forth the effort. I put forth the effort, and I feel good, right? I feel good. I'm not doing this for anyone else, right? The date you might feel like you're doing it for, but this says I'm doing this for me, right? I'm doing this because I feel good when I take care of myself, when I get dressed up, right? Oh yeah, here it is. When I get dressed up for no reason at all. You clean up nice. Okay, so there's another, it's funny because I was gonna say this with, introducing yourself to someone new. That's something you might say to someone that you've known for a while. Like, let's say that you work at a certain place and you don't dress up, right, at work. It's not like that. But then you see them dressed up, and this is something that you would say to them. You clean up really nice. Wow, how many times have you seen that in a movie, right? Okay, I don't know. One more time. I'm being called to go one more time. Long time no see. I feel like there's a whole lot of dating, setting boundaries, dating. Reconnect with an old teacher or a coach from your past. Look back to look forward. That's so interesting. I was thinking about this today, about that same type of thing. And thank the people who helped you grow and mature, right? And even if they're not around, or you don't really know where they are, simply expressing your gratitude in a letter, and then just hanging on to it. And then if you ever run into them, you could ask them for their address, or if you run into somebody who knows of them, or a family member, where you could send it to one of their family members if they're on the other side, right? Okay, so let's see what else we have here. All right, so because this is kind of more of a healing situation, I pulled a deck here called the Healing Mantra deck by Matt Kahn. And I just want to see what comes up here for the collective that would be helpful. All right, what would you like to show us here today? Illuminating the truth. Okay, and so that would be like that clarity card, right? Clarity, kind of the same colors a little bit too. I am willing to see things clearly no matter the outcome. I didn't even read the back of that, right? See people and things clearly as they really are. So this can be really challenging, because many times what do we do through life? We go through we want to wear the rose colored glasses. We want to give people chances, and I think about Jesus speaking about forgiveness 7 times 7, or how many times do you forgive someone, right? When you forgive someone, you're giving yourself grace too, because there's a reflection, right? Forgive as you have been forgiven. And but we can still see things clearly and step back, right? It doesn't mean we have to keep going in to a particular situation, because where one person is in their experience doesn't mean that you're there. There's a scene that is coming to mind from The Chosen, and I can't remember what city, but it was a tough scene. These Jesus and his disciples were walking into this city, and I feel like it was the one after he found the gal at the well, and it was his first time speaking of the fact that he was the Messiah, right? And so she went around and she was going to tell everyone. So I feel like it was that city, but wherever they went, um, he wanted his disciples, like, they saw that there was stuff going on where people were taking animals up to like an altar or whatever, and it was like a very, like, they didn't show that or anything, but it was still the idea that was really challenging, right? And so what I'm saying here, see people and things clearly as they really are. Not easy to see, right? Not easy to see, but still saw it. And it wasn't like, oh, let's go hang out with them. That wasn't, it was like, no, we're here to do things a different way, right? We're here to show that there's another way to do things. So just kind of keeping that in mind, which is okay. So we're going to go ahead and go a few more here. What else do we have? Befriending pain. I'm getting an echo here, sorry. Okay, when discomfort becomes a friend, my most limiting beliefs are healed. When discomfort becomes a friend, my most limiting beliefs are healed. So this means sitting with what hurts. Sitting with the tears, letting the tears flow, letting the emotion, which is energy in motion, move through you. And pain is an emotion, right? Yes, it can be a physical thing, but pain is often described like discomfort. And pain, if it is a physical pain, it started from emotional pain that was not addressed and or healed or not befriended. So what happened is it will settle into the body in one area or another and cause what was once dis-ease of your emotions could manifest in the body in the form of disease, right? So that pain can manifest somewhere else. So when we sit with the pain of our emotions, then we don't feel it in our body as much later because we kind of cried it out or wrote it out or created art or we did something, but we didn't run away from it. We didn't cover it up. We didn't keep running and exhaust ourselves because we couldn't sit with our pain. We have to sit with it. We have to feel the feelings, right? Feel the feelings. Okay, what else do we have? Rewriting the subconscious. This is interesting to me. This is the symbol on the Chrysler key, right? Chrysler, Christ. The Christ within. The more I embrace feeling good, the less often I feel bad. Now, I use this example a lot because it's just the way it is, right? So imagine that you're sitting on a motorcycle and however you want to look at it. There's something somewhere that you want to go and just say it's, a mile, 2 miles away, whatever that is. Or there's a friend waiting for you that you haven't seen in a really long time and you're just super excited to go, right? So what do we have to do to feel that good feeling to get there, right? We have to sit on the motorcycle, start it up, and we have to give it gas to move it. The gas is giving that gas, or moving the bike forward is what feels good. If someone said, well, hold on, every time you started to go, hold on, we're gonna give you something to think about, give you something this, and you're like, I want to get going, I want to feel good, right? I want to. And that's living in the energy of I want to. It's saying, okay, let's step out of I want to. It's like, I'm simply doing this, I'm moving forward, I am moving forward, I am feeling good, right? I am feeling good because I'm choosing this. I don't have to pull on the brakes, which makes me feel bad because it feels like a slowdown potentially, right? This isn't truly about movement, but it's the example of you can only be doing one thing or the other is what I'm really getting at. So the good feeling, you want to give more of it, more energy to it, right? The more I embrace feeling good, the less often I will feel bad. So if you catch yourself feeling bad, it doesn't mean you can't have those days, right? You can't feel your feelings. But once you've actually sat with them, once you befriended the pain, you cried some tears, right? Today I sat with some stuff today, right? I moved through it, but here I am now, right? It's evening, I'm here now. And it's like it just moved through me and I felt it. I didn't run away from it. Okay, what else do we have here? Growing beyond guilt. It couldn't have happened any other way. Our growth. I want you to look at that word growing. Grow wings. What happens when we grow wings? It means we are rising, right? We're going beyond the guilt, which is a lower vibrating energy. We're rising above whatever situation has happened, whatever experience we've had, whatever actions we've taken, words we've said, which can go with guilt, shame, regret, fear, like think of survivor's guilt, like this type of thing, right? These are stories, what's coming to me, of empowerment. And I really don't know much about this person, but I just had the confirmation coming on. The example that's coming to me is Jelly Roll, who's a singer who had a lot of trials in his past, right? And he very much got wrapped up in, when I say trials, like challenges in his life, right? And he readily admits those, right? And he, whatever his whole story is, he ended up on his journey, right? And now, like, listening to some of his music, one song, I don't know, the song title is called "You're a Liar," right? And what he's talking about is the temptation that that things that aren't good for him are put in front of him, and he's basically singing the song to that stuff, right? And or a situation or a person or a circumstance, right? And it's like, no, and he like took his power back, and it's like, no, not getting me this time. I fell for it before, but now I see with clarity right? In the song, that's what he's basically saying. I see with clarity what that stuff does to me, did to me, how it affects me, how it affects my life, how it affects the whole situation, right? And his song about being a liar, he's seeing people and things clearly as they really are, right? Not getting caught into that, oh, this is fun, somebody come along, this is fun, oh, you should try this, or growing up with stuff because it's just right there and it's what everybody else did. But what if you had a friend come in and said, hey, I can see maybe that seems normal, but that's not really that might be going on in your this here, but maybe that person didn't get a chance to get out of here much, but this other person had a much bigger life, and they're like, it's not like that everywhere, I just want you to know, right? Another person might come along and illuminate the truth to them that they thought that small world that's the way it was, right? Okay. What else do we have here? Well, this one wants to come out. Grounding my energy, which is interesting. So today I went for a walk, and it was my intention to get my shoes off and walk on the ground, and I didn't do it. It was warm out today, and after I went for my walk, I was just kind of done. So I didn't do it. I should have done it ahead of time, right? Because the ground would have been cooler too. Anyway, so it says, it is safe to be in my body. So oftentimes when people are using, right? Covering up their pain, right? It's because they don't want to be in their body. They don't want to befriend their pain. They don't want to sit with their stuff. So what do? They either get busy all the time, run, try to outrun it, or they cover it up with something that isn't necessarily good for them, right? And that could come in all sorts of ways, right? All sorts of, however you want to look at it. Patterns, addictions, different things people turn to, right? So whatever that is, someone might have a couple main ones that they do. Some might have a variety, a little bit of different things. Some might, like think about like people who smoke when they're anxious. I know people smoke after they eat, but like if they're anxious, people are like, I gotta have a cigarette, like they're nervous, right? And it calms them down. So it's the same type of thing. It's like this type of thing is like a grounding. It's a method for grounding someone, a soothing. It's a self-soothing technique. But actual grounding, this to help you feel safe in your body. That anxiousness is, it's like anxiety, right? Distraction, always running. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to settle down. I'm going to feel my discomfort. I'm going to ground my energy, walk in the grass or the water or the sand or whatever for up to 20 minutes if I can. You could be around anything like trees, having your hands touch trees, being around nature, getting plants into your home. How can you bring nature into your home that will help ground your energy? Stepping back from that which is winding you up, which can be the scrolling and the scrolling and the scrolling. And you know what? I will catch myself sometimes where it's like, okay, whoa, you can get so sucked in. Which is really interesting because it is one of the decks that I got out today, and it's called Unplug, right? So it's first awareness or mindfulness of what you know that you do yourself that winds you up, right? What gets you rattled up? So could it be that you watch sports and you get really into it and you're either angry or you're whatever and you're just wound up, right? So maybe it might be backing away from the sport so that you feel calmer. Maybe you watch the news and you get super riled up, right? Um, Maybe you watch politics and you get super riled up. But this is saying, why am I allowing that to rattle me so greatly, right? Can't I just pull myself back in and ground my energy and find peace within myself, right? Because if we can't do that, it might be because you're not wanting to sit with your own stuff. So you distract yourself with other things where you can let out that energy, if you will. Okay. Activating the third eye. Okay, that's right here, represented by purple. This is sort of a bluish purple card, but it says, I am willing to see beyond my beliefs, ideas, and conclusions, meaning there's more. There's so much more, right? I'm willing to see beyond them, meaning today, based on my personal experiences, first of all, we start out with programming, right? So school says things are this way, history says things are this way, whatever, different religions say things are this way, however you want to look at that. It doesn't really matter what it is. Family programming, right? Family traditions, however you want to look at it. Now, those are things that we very much might know because we're told them, okay? And so we go along with that. And then all of a sudden, we have some different experiences. Because it was first the beliefs and the ideas and the conclusions that we had those because we were told that's how it is. But then we have different experiences which call us to start seeking beyond, because you go, I think there's more than I was told. And it doesn't mean that those people were keeping something from you. Maybe. It might just mean that they haven't awoken up to it. They didn't have any experiences yet, right? And you may have been the first one in the people that you know who started to see more, to experience more, right? To sense more, to, the clairs, the word clairs are coming to me, right? And the word clair, it means clear, right? So clear knowing, clear seeing, clear sentience, tasting, clear hearing, right? Knowing that there is more than the beliefs we maybe once held, the ideas we once held, and the conclusions that we held. We might think a certain way right now, in this very moment, whenever you're watching this, but then you could go to bed and you could have a dream about something and you go look it up and you're like, wow, this is really wild. Or tomorrow morning you have some type of experience that was a very new to you, and so now you start searching into it and you're like, okay, there is more. And that was just maybe one thing, but this goes right back to the idea of what Jesus said. Knock and the door will open, right? Seek and you shall find. And he's talking about seeking and you'll find him. Ask and you will receive. Okay. Kind of have a mess here. the way that they have these cards. Okay, we're going to take from a deck called, it's called the Prayer of Jabez cards. And these cards are really lovely. I've only used them a couple times, but the messages were so nice. But let's see what's here. Let's take a few of these. Let's see what comes up. What would you like to bring forth here today? What God invites you to do will always be greater than the resources you start with. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you are short of money, people, energy, or time. Really powerful message, right? What God invites you to do will always be greater than the resources you start with. And that's the idea of we come in with nothing, right? we come in with nothing. And so so just considering that, where we are in our journey. Okay, the next one we have is, simply put, God favors those who ask. Now, this is my second time today, because when I got this deck out, I asked for a message and this came forth, right? God favors those who ask. Ask and you shall receive, right? And here this person's hand is in prayer. The day will come, and come repeatedly during your life, that you will be so overwhelmed with God's graciousness that tears will stream down your face. Just if you take some time and you think about various experiences in your life where you were so deeply moved, right? That you knew that there was a greater force, a greater energy behind whatever this was than your own work or actions or whatever. That there was something greater. And sometimes, because we were so busy in our life, we thought maybe we were lucky, maybe this, maybe that, right? It was our own actions, our own work. But then we get to a place and we look back and we go, wow, how many times in my experience I can look back over my life and really see those times where I maybe needed help in a certain area or guidance, and someone came along at just the right moment. The what feels like serendipitous or synchronistic, right? But serendipitous, I think, is really, it will feel like that. But when you look back and you're going, yeah, you start putting it all together, it's pretty neat. Okay, the next one we have is, great asking always starts here with genuine trust. Great asking. So asking and having trust that all can be provided for us, but it does start with the asking. Be assured that at the right time, God will provide you with the right words to say and the boldness to say them that you never thought possible. Okay, so what's coming to me with this one is, it's another country singer that I saw recently. I think the song that he's, one of his popular ones, is called Rich Man of Virginia, if I'm saying it correctly. But anyway, he spoke somewhere and he spoke about people coming together and helping out others who had been through a storm, and he just really spoke from his heart. And even though he was taking a risk, because he kind of was speaking on some things that wasn't necessarily lifting some systems up, he was speaking from his heart. And again, be sure that at the right time, God will provide you with the right words to say and the boldness to say them that you never thought possible. So you could go look that up. I can't remember it exactly, but There was just some very powerful things that it was like this idea of working together when and I'm not here like I'm not slamming government, but like what he said was there was some it was something to the effect like the people who had been in the storm weren't getting as much help or whatever, something to that effect, after these storms, and that the people pulled together to help one another out to get through it. And that's really the big part of the story. And yet in those same times he acknowledged that maybe there was a different way. That's what I'm getting at. Maybe there was a different way. And again, this goes back or makes me think about Jesus saying, that he didn't come to basically what he did is he said he came to start a revolution, right? He came to start a revolution because the world kind of had gone dark, and it's like, no, there's a different way to do things, right? So standing up to the way things were going, or when people say the powers that be or whatever, or the but Jesus didn't come in causing a ruckus. He was always he may have kind of had that a bit in him, but he was always honorable, right? Honorable, um, more than honorable, right? In the way that he moved, or the way that the story is told. I spoke on this not that long ago about, again, in The Chosen, in the movie, where him and his disciples were walking and the Romans came along and they had all their heavy armor and stuff. And at that time, if there were other people on the path, it was a rule that they had to carry their stuff for a mile. So I was pretty sure, as I had talked my way through that must be where the saying comes from. They went the extra mile, right? Where Jesus, the crew, the disciples were ready to put the stuff down after the mile because they were they were already tired when they came across them. But then they come across them and they've got to carry their stuff a mile. And Jesus said, no, let's keep going, right? Let's keep going. Very powerful. Okay. So I think that is going to be it. Well, let's take a message from this book on mindfulness, Little Book of Mindfulness by Titty Rowan. Let's see what comes up. What would you like to show us here? Do not miss experiencing the moment by always viewing the world through the lens of the camera. How many times have you witnessed a spectacular view and experienced the moment secondhand? It's good to take pictures to have reminders of special occasions or people, but it can too easily become a substitute for being fully present in that moment, or retaining it in the mind's eye. If it's all about capturing a moment in order to look at it in the future, it is to miss experiencing the moment itself. Yeah. So, all right. I want to say thanks for joining me. I hope you have an amazing day. Take care.